Watch out, it's a live mic.
This is Mark McNease in New York City with my co-host Rick Rose in Shreveport, Louisiana, and you're listening to another edition of Live Mic Weekend. Welcome to another Live Mic Weekend. This is Mark in New York City.
Hey, where the storm didn't hit, from what I understand. You had a little rain, but no hurricane, correct?
Yeah, Joaquin fizzled. It didn't turn. I was looking forward to it because I love this weather, but it fizzled and it headed out to sea.
It did. And this is Rick Rose, by the way, calling from Shreveport, Louisiana. 50 degrees cold this morning. For those of that know Louisiana, it's usually very hot. Hot politically, hot with Mardi Gras, and hot weather. But today it's frigid cold, 50 degrees. Staying at a friend's, so I'm not at my house. I'm poolside at her house as I get ready to go to church this morning, Mark.
It is very cold for Louisiana, and you're going to church. That's good. I haven't been in a while, but I'm sure it's going to work into our topics.
It is. You can see that was an easy setup. Thanks for joining us, guys. As you know, the format of the show, if you've never heard it, is when we're tired of hearing each other, we ring the bell. But I'm without my bell this morning. Yes, there it is. So Mark will control the show and the topics. Mark, lots in the news. You want to give a couple, three snippets of what's going on in the world today?
Well, yeah, and we'll have more for our listeners later in the month. But you and I are we're gonna revamp the show and this kind of stuff. And one of the things I always like going over some headlines. And that's the first thing I do in the morning, by the way, with my iPhone, is I lay in bed and I go through headlines because I have the weekly red lines on LGBT Senior and also my personal blog. And red lines rhymes. By the way, red lines rhymes with headlines because I've heard people say the weekly read lines. No, it's red lines. I was being clever because it rhymes with headlines.
It is. And for those who haven't heard it, check out lgbtsr.org. Yes, Mark, I fall asleep reading the news, so I got you covered at night. You got the morning beat, and there's a lot going on. Go ahead, give us some.
Well,
ideas.
Just this morning, the Washington Post editorial board did a piece about this J. Michael Mitchell. I'm guessing that's how you pronounce his name, but he was a mentally ill young black man in Virginia. He shoplifted a soda and 2 snacks worth $5.05 from a 7-Eleven. He was mentally ill. They didn't have a bed available for him, so they put him in jail and left him there for 4 months. And he deteriorated and died in filth and excrement, and it was horrifying. And it goes to both the way we handle incarceration in this country and what do you call it? Bail. Bail is a scam. There's so many poor people who can't afford $500 to get out of jail, and it's just a way to make money, and they end up rotting in jail. And anyways, this poor man died in jail when he should have been in a mental hospital. And then I was also I was reading the India. This has been going on for a while, but they're assassinating secular voices. We've read about bloggers in Afghanistan being murdered, and it happens in India too, and they're killing people who are not religious and have the audacity to speak out, and that's terrible. And then I also had read about SCOTUS, Supreme Court, is going to take up some pet conservative causes in the next term, and this last term it was like the liberals sort of got their way, or at least that's the perception. But this is a conservative court with a conservative majority. And we can look for some things going the other way this time. One is
I think on commentary on that,
contraception coverage is coming up. They're also going to hear cases on the death penalty. I was going to say on the death penalty, Alito accused the opponents of capital punishment of pursuing a, quote, guerrilla war against executions, and then Sotomayor responded that supporters of the death penalty would be content to allow condemned inmates to be burned alive. So it should be really interesting and volatile and electric.
Well, I think so too, and I think there's going to be a little backlash from those conservative justices that want to seek revenge on the rulings of the last session. And I also think it's their chance. I mean, we're coming to the end of this presidency. So it's time for them to make a statement. My news story actually leads into our first story as we get a little in-depth on our stories today. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, big subject of the Pope versus Kim Davis, who's telling the truth. I sided with the Pope from day one. I was with the Vatican. Mark, I know you followed the journey, and we're kind of trying to figure it out, is all of America, or all of, well, pretty much, it's really more of an American concern, in my opinion. Pope coming in was a big hero. Then Kim Davis said she met with him. The Vatican wouldn't confirm nor deny, and now we know that even though he may have shook her hand, we don't even know that much, but may have seen her. Certainly, it wasn't what she made it out to be. But the big news story there, though, on the other hand, the Vatican yesterday fired a Monsignor. I don't know if you heard about that, who came out as gay on the
I
eve.
did. The gay guy. He's hot. The boyfriend's hot.
Well, well, the boyfriend won't give his name. He just gives his first name as Eduardo or whatever. This is a mid-level official uh, confirmed that this it's a Polish Monsignor, and it actually is on today. They're having a big conference, on the standing of LGBT community within the confines of a Catholic family. So it was kind of big news yesterday. Kind of topped to me. What was going on with Kim Davis? Of course, the conservatives just wanted to make it look like the Pope was patting Kim Davis on the back and supporting her. Here was my whole thing from the beginning, Mark. First of all, she's not even Catholic. Not that the Pope, only shakes hands or spends time with Catholic, but the reality is she's an apostolic Pentecostal who does not believe in the Trinity. I mean, that faith, the tenet of that faith, is not Trinity based. So for the Pope to even schedule a meeting with her, I just don't think that was going to happen to begin with.
No, I think that the guy in Esquire had it right. He was the first one to suggest this conspiracy, and I think he was right. I think it was a setup. I think it was totally a setup. The Pope has some very powerful conservative enemies who don't want him as the Pope, and it was what a great way to fuck up his visit. You know what I mean?
Oh
Uh,
yeah, and try to end it on the note. And it's
and
hard
it was the
to
guy, the nuncio, the guy at the embassy or in Washington.
yeah,
He
who's
was
all
he's
bitter about the
he
former
marched in a
Protestant.
he marched in a nom anti-marriage equality thing. He's well known for being very vocal in his opposition to marriage equality, and he's the one who arranged the damn thing. That's a given. That was in the Times and the Post and everything else. He's the one who reached out and arranged to bring her in here. It was a setup, but I'm glad the Pope and the Vatican fired back. And they're basically calling the Pope a liar. They can say that it's the Vatican's lying, but they're saying the Pope is a liar.
Oh, and that's not going to go over well. Yes, the gentleman you're referring to is a big fan of the former Prada wearing Pope. You talk about the difference between someone who's just into his red shoes and someone that's into the feel and what's going on in the world. But the interesting part, I'm sure you've seen, I'm sure everybody has seen, that the Pope actually did meet and embraced a gay couple he had previously worked with down in Argentina. That was the private meeting in that group of people who she may have been a part of or not. But definitely, he did have a private meeting. He did call to meet this gentleman and his partner because they were friends.
Yeah. So
So interesting. Enough of that. But it's been an interesting week to see how that plays out over the course of a week, hasn't it?
yes, yeah. The Pope was had.
The Pope was had.
Um, well, we can't really talk. I can't. We can't do this and not mention the mass shootings, the mass murder in Oregon. Here we are again. I mean, I don't even know what to say. And what's chilling to me is my own reaction, which is nothing's going to change. So it's not that I don't care, but I mean, here we go again. Obama's out. Obama speaks out. He's passionate. The gun folks, there's all these. You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yes.
It's just the same shit. We're going to talk about changing something that needs to be changed, and it's not going to be changed. So I changed the channel 10 minutes after this shit happened. And it's not because I don't care about these people, but nothing is going to change. So I just why do we go through this? Why do we do this little kabuki bullshit theater every time 10 or 15 or 20 people are murdered? Nothing's going to change. So just stop it. Until we have a Congress, until we have enough people in the legislature to do something about it. Let's just watch something else.
It's very true. And, the president's not going to let it down. His speech that, of course, all the gun-toting lovers and all the Obama haters were out against, did not like his speech. I caught part of the speech, like you. I didn't want to fall right into it, but it was the end of the workday. I caught part of the speech. And he's very impassioned about keeping it alive. And I think this is going to become the last, part of his presidency. He's going to really take it on. But of course, the setup has to be right for the proper vote. And it's a very complex issue. But then again, so was equality in marriage. So we'll see what happens. Biden, of course, was speaking yesterday at the HRC, showing his support of the LGBT community. And actually ended his statement talking about gun control yesterday. So I think it is a very big issue, and I think you're going to see it play out more than it has, because you're right. We can't go. I mean, God, they seem quicker and quicker. It's like every month there's one that's going to go on the map, you know. So anyway, ding, ding, ding. I've got something to talk about. October 15th, amidst all the sea of pink going on, and I'm one of those all about October being Breast Cancer Month and our Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I went out and bought pink ties and pink underwear and pink bracelets or whatever, because we're doing a thing here in Shreveport and around the country too. I know they do Men of Distinction. These are men that wear pink every day of the month. But I will tell you what, on October 15th, that pink is going to purple, and that's in support of young kids. You know, these are LGBT community kids. 8 out of 10 LGBT youth report that they've been bullied in the past year. So for those that don't know about it, GLAAD has put together a new animated video. If you want to look at it, go to the GLAAD site. But you'll realize that October 15th is really dedicated to those kids as a day of peace. It's Spirit Day. And so we wear purple in honor and in remembrance and in support of those that are struggling at the hands of a bully. I dug a little deeper, Mark, and this will lead into my next subject, but I'll let you speak in between. But did you know that the purple of Spirit Day actually comes from the purple stripe in the LGBT flag? Did you know that?
I had no idea. I thought it was just fabulous.
It is, and well, that it is too.
Purple is.
Then I dug deeper about the flag, and did you know that each of the colors of the flag of the rainbow flag represents a certain meaning in our community?
This is news to me. I'm fascinated.
I know, and we're like old school queer, right?
Yeah, gay.
So it's interesting. Red is for life, orange is for healing, yellow is for sunlight, the green is for nature, blue is for harmony, and then, of course, Spirit, which is Spirit Day, October 15th, once again, folks. That's the purple color. But it's interesting. The guy that started the flag back in 1978, the first time it appeared at the Grove Street Gay Community Center in San Francisco, his name is Gilbert Baker, and you may know this, but originally, and I think you know this, Mark, it had 8 stripes. And the other 2 colors that were removed because of the cost of making the flag, and that's why they decided to go down to 6 colors. There was once a pink in it, and that stood for sex. And the other color that was in it was turquoise, and that stood for magic. But he had to take out 2, so he took magical sex out, and we ended up the flag that we have today. I just found it fascinating. As a gay,
it is fascinating. And also, you mentioned earlier being old school. I'm so old school, I still say gay. I mean, how like ancient is that?
It's not ancient. Ding, ding, ding.
My last topic, because you actually got a couple more, but you got the Smithers and you got the films.
I'll talk fast.
Okay. My last topic is the Matt Damon stuff, and oh, Rick, I'm a contrarian. I was born a contrarian. So Matt Damon, in an interview or a couple interviews, he says some things and then they get seized upon and, in my opinion, twisted at least a little bit. And the next thing you know, Matt Damon's being attacked for the way he spoke to a black I think it was a producer, a black woman producer on his show about diversity in film, I guess, and casting. And they accused him of mansplaining. And by the way, when we get to the end of the year and we do our 5 words I never want to hear again, anything combined with splaining is at the very top of my list. I can't stand it. It's lazy. I hope somebody's listening. Please stop it with the mansplaining. And so, I'm sorry, folks. I have some dear transgender friends, but cisplaining, anything with splaining is just lazy, intellectually vapid, empty bullshit. Stop it. So, but there they are. It's the internet. It's Salon. What do you expect? So they accuse Matt Damon of mansplaining. Whatever, and race, what do they call it? White-splaining. Oh, yeah, he's white-splaining and mansplaining. A double tragedy. And then the other thing was where he said something in a Guardian interview about, being secretive as an actor and, keeping parts of yourself that aren't revealed. And the next thing you know, they're saying, he said actors should stay in the closet. And my first reaction is, please quote to me. If you're going to accuse somebody, anybody, not just Matt Damon, but we do this all the time. I want the quotes. I want to know exactly what he said before I'm going to jump on this fucking bandwagon and accuse him of of shit like that, and we do it all the time. And then I subsequently saw him on an interview trying to explain what he meant. And he may have worded things poorly. We all do that, for God's sake. But he's an ally. He's a progressive. We attack our own so much, and it just really pisses me off. And so I'm like, I want the quote. If you're going to put out a headline or something on Salon or Huffington Post, Matt Damon says gay actors should stay in closet, you better give me the fucking quote, because I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon like everybody else seems to.
Well, no, I think you're absolutely right. It's partly the media's part, but you're right. I mean, we gays, to use your word, like to stir the pot a little bit sometimes, and I don't get why we do it. And as far as quotes go, it's like scripture. It's like the Bible. I told everybody at the beginning of the show, I'm on my way off to a Catholic church today. The word is the word. I don't care. I'm not speaking necessarily to the biblical word, but the word is the word, no matter if it's a spoken word or a written word. And that's left for us to interpret based on context. What we know of a person, what we know of Jesus's beliefs, what we know of Matt Damon's beliefs and history. You're right, Mark. And to take it worse, and I know you have a big issue with this on some of these news aggregators or anybody, for instance, when they rewrite and they write the headline that's going to grab and pull you in, like you were talking about earlier.
Oh, right. And then you read it and it's not really what it's about.
Oh, I was convinced a month ago that they found a new primate, or another Homo, whatever group of people, sapiens or whatever, in South Africa. Well, it was the bones of a different form of caveman that they found. Well, the way the headline was written is like, I really believed that there was another group of quote humans living somewhere, and that we were going to have Planet of the Apes real time.
Well, it's clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
It's called.
And I'm
clickbait.
guilty. I click on through, but
I sometimes do. I'm very conscious of it being clickbait, though. But I also want to just throw in here. I want to add in here that this applies to intelligent people that I know personally on Facebook, like propagating this shit about Matt Damon. And like calling him a wanker and an idiot. Please, come on, man. He's not, whatever he may be, he's not stupid. He's not an idiot.
And whatever he and Ben Affleck have going on, that's their private life, Mark.
We just like to tear people down. It's the world we're living in.
Also in Hollywood news, yes, you referred to earlier, they're going to take 2 episodes of The Simpsons, which debuted its new season, to have the character of Smithers come out. Smithers, of course, is Mr. Burns' loyal assistant. His real name is Waylon Smithers. And it's kind of interesting because, remember, about a year ago, Harry Shearer, who plays the voice of both of those characters, as well as Homer's friend on the show, actually quit the series, and they brought him back. So I wonder if they thought, hey, shit, we better deal with this coming up before Harry quits again, or, what the whole impetus was. But after years of exploring, Waylon Smithers' love affair, if you will, or closeted love affair with his tyrannical boss, Mr. Burns, they're finally coming out. He's lusted for the billionaire for years. He's going to come out. It's going to be a 2-part episode. According to the Simpsons wiki website, where you can learn everything Simpsons, it's not the first time, of course, that they've dealt with gay characters. Apparently, there's this Ajax Steel meal on the show, as it turns into a gay nightclub at night. So those characters. And back in 2005, if you recall, Marge Simpson's sister, one of the 2 twins, Patty, came out as a lesbian. So it's not the first time it's happened on the show, but it'll be interesting to put it in context and see how they play it out. Are you a Simpsons fan? I don't even know.
I was just gonna say I've never watched the show, but I can understand the importance.
Well, and that's what they were saying. They said, well, why wasn't this done years ago? Why is it being done now? And any kind of good comedy, as you know, because you do it well, Mark, you write comedy well as well, that there's a sharp truth to it. And I think that the writers of Simpsons historically have always been bright and attentive, and just get right to the core of the reality. So I think that I'm kind of glad it's happening in 2015, 10 years after Marge's sister came out, to see the twist they put on it, or the depth they go with it. But he's in their hands, and we'll see how it all plays out.
We will. I just thought of a name for our show.
Well,
so we use the bell.
Yeah.
How about bell bottoms?
That's it. It's the bottom line. Bell bottoms.
I'm sorry. That's apropos of nothing. You were going to do the 10 films we should see.
Yeah, I'm going to just talk about that real briefly. A lot of commentary came out when the Stonewall movie had. We talked about it here on the show. Stonewall finally came out, and critics didn't like it, and they said it purported reality a lot. A lot of criticism for the filmmakers saying, this is not a movie that really helps move our mission or helps us understand the context of our context is the word for the day, by the way, but context of our history as gay people. And one quick comment too, I want to talk about the guy that created the gay flag, which we were talking about earlier. He says it still hurts him. On the positive side, he loves that the flag has become a symbol for the movement, if you will, or for the rights, civil rights part of our community. And like he's very grateful, like when we waved the flag over in Russia, during the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and how prominent that was. And he said at the same time, it breaks his heart to know that there's people in a factory in China producing these flags that are still living lives of desperation because they can't be out, in their community and in their world and in their country. And so that was pretty poignant. But there are 10 movies, and I'm going to just highlight about 3 of them real quickly, that for me and for others have really told the tradition of our gay experience, if you will. One of my favorites is the whole Harvey Milk thing. Of course, there's a wonderful movie, Sean Penn portraying the character in the dramatized version of his life. But the documentary that came out in 1984 is really poignant. Talks a lot about Harvey Milk. It's powerful, Mark, because it's got so many elements to it. It's got the political element. It's got the AIDS pandemic playing out. It's got his own personal journey playing out. So that's a movie from 1984. If you haven't put it in your Netflix queue or
Saw it.
Or rented it, see it. Paris is Burning. Remember that, Mark, from 1990?
Saw it. Good movie. Kind of talked about the other culture, the culture within the culture, underground drag ball culture of New York City. The filmmaker Jenny Livingston actually followed these stories for several years. Test. Let's see if you saw Philadelphia. Of course you did. Actually, I never did. I saw parts of it. By the way, was she Vogue-splaining the ballroom scene to people?
I think she was. She was. Well, Philadelphia is interesting because I didn't see it till years later. It was 1993. Both of us were living within the pandemic.
Yeah, too sad. I couldn't go. It was too sad. I couldn't deal with it.
It was too sad, and we were doing it. We were living that life. The story is of our life. But it's an interesting story today because Andrew Beckett, played by Tom Hanks, the reason he hired Denzel Washington's character to represent him because he was wrongly fired from his firm because of HIV positive status. Interesting because it's going to play out in context with we still aren't protected in other ways as a gay community. Boys Don't Cry is the second to last. I mentioned. Wonderful movie, 1999.
Wow, was it really that long ago? I loved that movie. I can't believe it was 1999.
A real life story of Brandon Tina. I can't believe it was that long ago. Of course, Hilary Swank winning an Academy Award. If you haven't seen it, folks, see it. I'm sure you have. And then lastly, talk about movies that talk about our experience. It's The Celluloid Closet from '95, which actually is a documentary that talks about movies.
Yeah, Vito Russo.
Oh my God, one of my favorite people to quote. Yep. It's narrated by Lily Tomlin. If you haven't seen it, very powerful. Talks a lot about, closet, being in the closet, coming out of the closet, blah, 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 all the things as it relates to our LGBT history in film. Go see one of these films, guys, if you want a real accurate picture of what's going on.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Well, that's plenty. That's plenty. And boy, I'm going to end with how much I love this weather. The cool weather, even the rain was so nice after this hot, humid summer. We're in my favorite time of year, and the pumpkins are out. The Halloween decorations are going up. I'm loving it.
And someone I love and very dear to me is having a birthday at the end of the month. Happy birthday early, Mark McNease.
Oh, that's right. Just in time for our show, whatever we decide it's going to be.
We could kick it off and run your birthday or Halloween somewhere in that week period of time. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. We're going to aim for it.
Awesome blossom.
Bye.
I'll see you later. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.